Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again. This is Cage Talk. Today, I have an MMA artist who was in Invicta and now is currently in the UFC, competing in the Flyweight division. We have Miranda Fear the Maverick. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
I like your last name is it's a badass last name. It's not common, so when you kind of came up with your nickname, how'd you do that? Like, who came up with the nickname? Because again, if you look on paper, like really quick, they're like, oh, who the fuck? Fear the what does that mean? And then you see your last name, you're like, okay, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
So it's partly because I'm such a nice person, I guess. My old coaches were always getting, not mad at me, but tormenting me about being too nice to my opponents and walking up and shaking their hand and stuff. And they were like, they need to fear you. Quit being so nice to everybody. They need to fear you. And so at one point, somebody was like, make them fear the Maverick. And then somebody else was like, wow, that was good. And then everybody at the gym was like, fear the Maverick, fear the Maverick. And eventually it just stuck to it. And that's what became the nickname.
Again, like I said, it's a badass nickname and stuff, and it goes with your last name. So I mean,
mixed responses. Some people think it's stupid and others love it. So it's one of
well, you know what, it's gonna be you can't please everyone, unfortunately. So fuck it. If you like it, and then it's good. So I like it. I think it's really cool and stuff like that, and then you could also relate to like Top Gun and shit. So I bet you probably got a bunch of Top Gun references and stuff like that. But still, it's cool. Cool. Before we get into anything, I know you recently were supposed to fight due to last minute. They pulled out Jillian. Jillian was supposed to be your next opponent and stuff like that, and I think last minute she had some flu-like symptoms and stuff like that. Just want to say, hopefully she has a speedy recovery. Hopefully she gets back to it. I know she's a really tough girl, and I talked to some of the fighters she has in her camp, like Dean Thomas and Shori Torres and stuff like that. And those that's a tough training camp, and those guys are tough. And so for her to pull out last minute must have been something devastating and stuff. Because again, she's another badass too. So again, hopefully everything's okay with her and the training camp and stuff like that.
what I've heard. I think she's back to normal now and trying to recover. And we're trying to do our best to get a fight rebooked between us. If it ends up being a different opponent, I'm fine with that too. But we're hoping we can get back into the cage soon and fight each other.
Definitely, because that was I think one of the top fights I wanted to see, because it's a good test between both of you. I mean, Jillian was considered, she was ranked at one point, and then you're up and coming. Regardless, I think your styles together would have clashed. It would have been a really, really good, exciting fight. Especially coming. I mean, you bust your ass. You do this whole training camp, right? The training camp could be a pain in the ass. Depends. I think you did really good on your weight cut, correct?
Yeah, but to say the least, I was disappointed. I'm still kind of, the thing I'm agitated about most is that they waited until so long to tell everybody what was going on. Like, I was 20 minutes from going to the Apex and fighting, and I already had my fight clothes on. I already had everything ready to go, was pumped up, saying prayers with my dad, like getting ready to go. And then got a message, and Jillian told me before she had reported it to the UFC. So I respect her for that. At first, to be honest, I was like, is this for real? Like, two times I've went to Vegas, or 2 times I haven't gotten a fight, like last day. So it's been really irritating from that perspective. But not only that, I'm trying to get paid. I lost out a lot of money. I'm not too happy about that, or having to go through 8 weeks of fight camp and cutting weight. So
yeah, no, I understand that completely. But let's talk about, this is one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, was the fight game. I mean, obviously you have to be in shape, you have to know how to fight, but the big part of it is mental, like your mental state. And for you being such a young fighter, I saw your post after on social media after, like, saying, "Hey guys, unfortunately it's been but the way you weren't, you were obviously disappointed, but at the same time you kept that mindset, that focus. You're like, I'm just going to go back, get another training camp, refocus, just keep doing what I have to do. And for someone in such a young age, you have a really good head on your shoulders. And I don't mean just in fighting. I meant, again, we'll talk a little bit about it in school and stuff like that. But just that mental aspect of already, like, not being down, and kind of like, if it was up to me, I'm like, man, I busted my ass. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to go eat a Twix or something. But not you. You're like, forget this. I'm going to keep focused, and I'm just going to get back to going back to work, and keep working in the gym and stuff like that. That mentality is really, really important down, the stretch of your career. What got you that mindset? Was it, from, work ethic, or was it, your
I'd say
parents
all of
raising
it.
you?
The way I was raised is a big part of it, and my dad was there at this fight too. When I first got the message, I'll be honest, it wasn't the most mature reaction, I guess, but it was just like shock to my system, had all these nerves and emotions going into the fight, like ready to just put that into the cage. And instead, they kind of got let out right in that second that I read the message, and I like cried and was really frustrated. And my dad was like, calm down, like, we don't even know if this is real. And then I was like, well, nobody fakes that, and that'd be a stupid way to get me motivated to punch you in the face,
Yeah.
telling me a fight's off. So I doubt it's fake. But we waited until everything was official. I was calmed down by that point, and it's just knowing what to be grateful for. 5 years ago, I would have never imagined I would be a professional athlete, nonetheless be in the UFC, this promotion that I've watched online, and I'm now fighting people that I've watched as I've grown up, which is amazing to me. But that, along with just being grateful for being in the UFC and being able to be there and have that as my living, I just kind of thought about that. And, if she was sick, she's sick. Nobody can help that. I think God makes everything happen for a reason. And on top of that, I got to see my dad for the first time in a few months. I got to get that much better in between fight camps, and now I'm going to have basically a whole nother fight camp to prepare for her even. So that just levels me up that much more.
Say it like that. Just, I'm telling you, like that maturity, that mental state is awesome to have. I mean, you have these, these younger fighters. I mean, I don't like calling people out. Again, it's not a call out. It's just, again, stating the obvious, like Macy Barber, who, she's very young. She speaks her opinion. Some people take it as arrogance. I take it as she's very young still. She wears her emotions on her sleeves. She wants to be the best. Obviously, I mean, you go, you compete, you want to be the best. But I mean, if you pick and choose your battles, who you call out or what you say and stuff like that could affect you later on.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that she's kind of like, oh, she talks too much and this and that. With your the way you handle your business, I like it because, again, you said it before, you're nice, but you let your you let the talking in the cage. It happens in the cage. You're not calling everyone out, this and that. You're almost, your mental state is really, really good, and I really admire that as a fan myself, just because we can see you grow, and every fight you're going to be growing. Again, you're still young, and you're growing with every other fight, every other experience. Like you said, this has happened before, and you already kind of know how to handle it. So again, applaud to you for that focus and that drive. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think I do credit it a lot to God, a lot to how I'm raised, but also it is an entertainment industry. So I understand how other people approach it too, though.
Yeah.
The whole WWE stuff, and people whine about how WWE mixed with UFC isn't good. And I'm like, yeah, right. The fans watch it. Don't lie to yourselves. Like, Conor McGregor got big for a reason.
Yeah.
Everybody everyone hates at some point got big for a reason. There's not too many nice guys in the UFC that are popular other than like Thompson and GSP. That's about it. Aside from that, like, even me, I guess if a girl like insults me or something like that and I have a reason not to like her, I won't like her. That doesn't mean I'll be
Mhm.
cussing all over the social media,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I'll make it obvious, you know. And we've all got to make money. Everybody has their own attitude and way to go about it. It's when people decide to be fake or start having a false persona later on, Colby Covington, cough cough, that people have a problem with it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it happens. It's a different era of fighting. When I used to watch, well, when I, back in the day in UFC, like UFC, like 46, we had Chris Lytle, we had Chris Lieben. It was a different mentality for fighters just because they went in there and they fought and they didn't care who it was. They didn't have any ranked, no numbers. They didn't give a shit. They cared about money, but they cared more about the value of fighting someone anytime, anywhere. They were more prideful. I feel like now the fighters are a little bit more. It's a different era of
Yeah,
fighting.
it's evolved.
Yeah,
And speaking on those terms, it's not just a fist fight anymore like it used to be. You know, you have to literally go in there with fight IQ
yeah,
per se, not I just want to beat your ass. Like that doesn't work anymore, unfortunately.
absolutely not. Again, as the sport evolved, the fighters evolved as well. So now you have like the complete athlete. Like you go in
Yep.
there, you know, got a good stand up but have no ground game. Guess what? You're gonna get your ass taken down. So I mean,
Mhm.
completely different. Now, talking a little bit about your career, um, how did you get into to fighting? Again, you're very very young, and you started. I know you had a couple amateur fights, like what's 7 or 8,
Yeah, I had 8.
and then you jumped into it. So can you explain how you like propelled so quickly and then got to this? Because a lot of people your age and older have tried that, have been trying to get years and years to the UFC, and you kind of just said, hold my beer and just here, I got this. And again,
Well,
it's due to obviously your credit of your hard work and stuff. It's not like I'm saying like, oh, you just passed them
right, definitely. And
because
I'll kind of go through a little bit. Obviously, I could write a whole book over how I just got through amateur, but to give a quick summary, like for one, fans that are listening, please don't take this as a way that you can get there because
no.
it's not. It's just not. Like I have tons of people that message me and they're like, "Well, my coaches won't let me fight that soon. This is bull crap." Da da da. And I'm like, I had a very special circumstance and very special way that I got into a gym. My dad had basically taught me jujitsu all the way up until I went to a gym at 16. I knew how to do the basics.
Hmm.
I would say I wasn't quite a blue belt, but I was getting there. For my age, I was pretty high up.
Okay.
And got into jujitsu, grew a passion for it very fast, became what I would consider pretty good at it. Started competing in jujitsu. And then by the time I was like 17 and a half, I saw these MMA fights and I was like, I want to do that. That looks easy. Like, watch some amateur women fight. And that's when I kind of got inspired to want to try it. Before that, I was like, I don't want punched in the face. I don't want to fight MMA. Jiu-jitsu, I like self-defense, whatever.
Hmm.
But I don't know about getting punched in the face for a living. And then I watched these amateur fights, saw 2 women fight, and I was like embarrassed by it, like how bad it really was. And I was like, that's women's fighting. What? I want to fight a woman. Like I can do better than that. And my coaches were like, hey, don't say anything until you've been hit in the face. And I was like, fine, okay, but I want to do it now.
Hmm.
And so I had to wait until I was 18. I moved to my college, which was in 2 miles of my gym at the time, when before I was driving an hour every day from home to go to the gym,
Okay.
like once every other week or once a week, maybe if I was
Happens,
lucky.
yeah. Especially if
Yeah.
it's an hour.
Yeah, I was in high school. Like I just didn't have time and I didn't have the money.
Hmm.
And so anyway, I moved to college, was within 2 miles of the gym, would either jog there, ride my bike, or drive my car every once in a while to get to the gym, and trained every single day once I moved there. And I had told my coaches that, and they didn't believe me. I was like, I'll be there every single day, starting, gave them the date I was moving in. And they were like, school will get in the way. I'm sure you'll be here every once in a while, but
Yeah,
you'll
you're
be
saying
busy.
like we heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped my student orientation for college, all
Nice.
4 days. I went to like the meetings and then would like skip out when everybody else was playing the games. Go train every day, morning and night, and my coaches were just like pretty amazed by it. And I just stuck to it and worked really hard. And after just a few weeks of striking, which sounds crazy, but I had a base. Like I said, my dad had taught me the
Yeah.
basics, and they of course refined it and were making sure I knew what I was doing. And within a few weeks, I had a fight scheduled.
Shit.
And they were like, "You want it?" And I was like, "Yes, yeah, I want it." And drove to Kansas City, Missouri from Springfield, fought for the first time, and I talked to my dad very seriously about it. And I was like, if I win my first one, and I like how it feels to hit someone, meaning like I'm a nice person. Like I would never have imagined I'm gonna beat her up. Like I don't get mad like that, or didn't. Now I've learned to like embrace it and channel stuff. But at that point I was like, I don't know. I've been raised my whole life not to hit a girl, especially like raised very much like a guy in that sense. Like if I would have touched a girl growing up, my dad would have whooped my butt.
Mm-hmm.
Guy a little bit different. But yeah, fought the girl, ended up winning in that first round, and basically blacked out. Didn't remember much of what happened at all.
Adrenaline,
Loved
probably.
it. Yeah, loved it. Won, and said I was gonna try to be the best in the world. And had 8 amateur fights. I got to where I was ranked #1 in the Midwest as an amateur, and no other girls would fight me. I was this 18-year-old girl that 30-year-old women are fighting, and going, what the hell?
That's crazy.
I like have ended, I don't necessarily take pride in it, but I have ended many women's careers who just thought they gotten their butt kicked by a child, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I message them now, and some of them I'm friends with still, and they're like, you know, I'm glad you made it a long way, because I felt pretty crappy.
Yeah, at first they felt like shit. Now they're like, well, she's in the UFC, so I could say, you know, I have
Right.
that. I got beat by a
Right.
fighter.
Exactly. And then Shannon Knapp actually sent me a Facebook message of all things one day, and I was like, this is fake. Literally ignored the message. It was in my break room. I was waitressing at that day at the time. Went to the break room, saw that message, and I literally ignored it. I was like, who messages on Facebook that's a big president of a company? That's bullcrap. I ignored it, and something inside me like 5 minutes later was like, what are you doing? Go back and read that message. And so I go to the break room, I read through the whole thing, I go and like snoop on her profile, and it's legitimately Shannon Knapp. And I was like freaking out. I started crying, screaming up and down. My managers come in the back, seeing what's going on. I called my dad and like took that pro fight, that first pro debut, and was with Invicta pretty much ever since. Worked my way up there. I felt like people were trying to throw every loss at me that they could. Not to shit talk on the company, I'm not saying that, but I was the young up and comer, and I was a great stepping stone for whoever wanted to use me as one.
Of
And
course.
so I felt like I was always getting thrown to the wolves and just beating the wolves, and then thrown to the next wolf and would beat the wolf. And after I had my first pro loss, it really just snapped some energy into me and made me get my butt up and start fighting.
There you go. Especially after a loss, for an MMA fighter. I mean, going in with a lot of emotion and stuff like that, it could be positive, it could be negative. You go too, you know, overly emotional to a fight, it could drain you, get you tired, it gets exhausted before the fight started. So the fact that you kind of picked yourself up after that loss is shows a lot on your character, and it shows a lot on anyone who's ever been in any competition. You know, it builds character as well, and that's something, you know, I love about MMA. Is like, either hey, you're gonna pick yourself up and start this over again, or you're just gonna lay, you know, show your belly and kind of just lay flat and stuff, but you didn't. So
That's true. That's true. And it's honestly not for everyone. I have a
yep.
lot of people I've watched through amateur careers get beat. And it's just, you can kind of tell some people it's just not what they need to be doing with their lives, you know? And I'm a big promoter, I guess you'd say, advocate of people who quit things that they're not good at. You know, I'm like, it's not being a quitter when it's something that you're just not meant for. Go after other dreams. But for me, I knew it was my dream. You know, I knew I was really good, and I knew the mistakes I had made, and they were, wouldn't say easy fixes, but I'm pretty adaptable. I've learned over time pretty quickly. And my first loss was 5 months after a major knee surgery. I had complete knee reconstruction. And so I knew I had a lot of new things coming and could advance quickly. So I did, came back from that loss, and then ended up having that Phoenix Series tournament, which was the biggest foothold in my career, I guess.
Nice. And again, like you said, you have to be adaptable, and not only for fighting. I think you have to be adaptable for life, because life changes drastically. Look, I mean, everyone through the coronavirus, this and that. Some people just can't handle it. Can't People are so stuck on doing the same thing every day, and if you break that routine, it makes
It's sad, really. It's destroyed a lot of lives, both emotionally, stressfully, for people who are not able to adapt or have a lot of challenges in their way to adapt. And I have a few people who have you know, sadly, a couple have passed away through it all, or just struggled along.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I mean, it's something. Um, it's really, really sad, and hopefully, we can all eventually keep going. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep going. You can't,
Mhm.
fortunately, you can't stop and stuff like that. And a question I had for you about your fighting career and stuff like that. Who would be your biggest let's see, who would be your biggest inspiration out of all this?
My dad for sure. My dad's always in my corner. He's the one that kind of encouraged me into the sport. He did not push me into the sport or anything, but he was supportive of it as I went forward. Now he's always in my corner. As far as fighters, though, I don't really have a particular one. I think it changes every time somebody asks me, but GSP was definitely one of the first ones I watched, him and Matt Hughes. I really like them as people. Brian Stan became one of my favorites over time. And then as far as girls, both technique and stuff, of course, Ronda Rousey was the first one I watched. I was like 14 when she got in the UFC, and I was
Mhm.
excited to see women fighting. I think she was the pioneer for women's MMA. Is she my favorite person? Absolutely not. But I respect her as a fighter, and I think she was a great. I mean, she did everything for women's MMA basically.
Definitely.
Um, but then now there's girls that I watch their technique and really learn from, all of them really. But Tatiana Suarez was one of them that I was like, I can go in there and maul girls like that. I need to do that. And Rose has been very kind. Tisha Torres, so many girls that I've met and trained with over time that were my heroes at the early days, and now I'm getting to train with them and basically be their coworker. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely embrace and like I've a lot of fighters have talked to me and told me just embrace their time and everything that they explain and stuff like that because it's nice to, especially like you said, you had them, they're like you watch them now, they're teaching you stuff that they know, and that's
Yep.
that's pretty cool and stuff like that. Now going back to your dad, I remember the fight week. You had your hotel and stuff. You guys had a couple of game boards and stuff. I think you had like Battleship and stuff like that. Is that something you always do as like almost like a preparation, not for the fight, but just kind of like a routine you guys got going on every
Well, I
fight?
think COVID changed that actually. So no, I told my
Okay.
dad I wanted to make it a tradition. We're gonna play chess, and I'm gonna bring games every time. He beats me at chess, so I don't know if I'm bringing that one next time.
Do Battleship.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta have my confidence up when I'm getting ready for a fight, of course. No, I love playing games with dad and everything. He's really funny. He cheats a lot too, but it's okay. No, he hasn't cheated in a while. I'm touring. But I think it's a good tradition to always just have something to spend time with your family and stuff. And if it's gonna be me and just dad there and we can't even go anywhere, we're
Mhm.
quarantined in the middle of a hotel room, games
Awesome.
seem pretty um, stress relieving and not high anxiety, plus I get some confidence from it if I win, and if I lose I gotta
Yeah.
adapt.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's really nice to see that bond between daughter and father. It's really nice. And let's talk a little bit about school because again, I've talked to a lot of retired fighters and stuff, and the one thing that I always see kind of like almost like a question mark in their careers, like once they're done with the MMA, because MMA is not going to be your whole life. You're going to have a second part of your life, your second journey that you're going to have to complete and have to do. For some of these fighters that were all number ones and up there, they still hang on to that, and they have trouble trying to adapt to the real world now. They were like these champions now adapting to the real world once that legacy is gone is really hard. And
Yeah.
I've talked to Chris Lytle and stuff. He says you just gotta find your second purpose. Okay.
Hmm.
And I believe you already skipped that and you're already ahead of the, like what I said before, you have a good head on your shoulders because of schooling. You go to Old Dominion, correct?
Hmm.
All right. And what are you studying there? And what do you have?
So I'm a PhD candidate. Doesn't mean I have my PhD yet
Yep.
in industrial organizational psychology. I always try to make sure I'm more specific every time because I always have people hating on me on social media, and I'm like, okay, you took it out of context, and now I have to explain.
Yeah.
But I actually am finishing up my master's technically right now. So it's a accelerated program where I get my master's, then my PhD on the way. And I am almost done with my master's thesis. Once I defend that, I will have my master's and hopefully be able to continue on to my PhD. If people know how grad school works, I have to pass like a review board thing and pass my thesis and all that before the PhD is realistic. But as far as classes for my PhD, I should be done with those by this December. So I'm really excited about that. And school sucks. I hate school. Everybody can hear it. I don't care. ODU can hear it too. I think they're a great school. I, of course, like my program and like what I got into, and kind of decided what I wanted to do with my life by the time I was a junior in high school, to be honest.
Nice.
But didn't realize exactly what I would do as far as grad school. Didn't know if I would try to go bachelor's and then go the route of industrial psychology or what. Had an opportunity laid in front of me. I believe God's blessed me a lot in this life, and I'll always be grateful for that. It was a hard decision at first. I got an offer to Old Dominion University, a couple others, but this was a PhD program that I would be getting paid for by being a teacher for them as well. And so that's what I'm doing. Moved all the way from Missouri to Virginia for it, and it was really hard on me and my family. But after about 6 months or so, I'd say I adjusted pretty well, and
Adapting.
I'm doing good, I guess you'd say, but not perfect. I'm probably an average student within the PhD program when I was number one before, but they're all a bunch of geniuses from everywhere, and I've got a full-time career on the side.
Yeah, I mean, hey, not a lot of people can say it, especially in the UFC, that hey, you're a fighter and you're still going to school and stuff. So I give you credit for that. I was I had a part time and I was going to school and I was still failing school. So I had to that's awesome. Again, recommend you, man. That's amazing. And again, you're setting up your future. Again, there's some fighters that can't do that. Some fighters are stuck in fighting.
Both from the guidance of my dad and just looking around at fighters, at the world, and again, not trying to offend anybody. I have people that get grumpy, but a lot of fighters just don't have their future planned out for after fighting. They don't see that end of the tunnel, or they have some false delusion that they're going to make it huge and never have to have another dime again because they're in a sport. And in reality, it's like a game. It's like a child's game to play. Like, it's going to end eventually, and you need to be mature enough and bring yourself out at an objective perspective enough to know that the opportunities we have in life could end at any second. You know, I've had so many setbacks that could have been for life had I not been lucky or blessed and gotten out of them. My eye surgery I had in June, my knee surgery I had before, like, all those things could have literally been life damaging and kept me from doing anything, nonetheless, a professional athlete's career. And I know that. And I also know that you can't be 40 years old and fighting. I guess you can be, but you're going to get a lot more damage than what it's worth.
Depends on the fighter, right?
Yeah.
Randy
And so,
Couture.
yeah, that
Couture did it. He's the man.
That's right. I mean, I'm hoping that my weight class, I wouldn't get too much brain damage, but never know. I want to be done by mid-30s, I think, but we'll see what happens.
But again, that's awesome to have that mentality already going forward. I wish, again, I'm 31. I wish I knew exactly what the hell I wanted to do at the age of 19. I didn't know what the hell. I was bouncing from school to school because, again, I changed majors like 4 times. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And just to know that you already have that path, that you already set yourself a goal and a plan is amazing. And that's awesome. And I mean, regardless, I think you're going to do great in fighting. You're going to do even better things outside of fighting.
Thank you.
So again, before I let you go, because I've been taking too much of your time, and you have to study or you got other things to do. I got a kid to watch. What is it? What does it mean for you to be a fighter?
Wow, I guess we've talked about a lot, but for me, I think one of the biggest things that has been inspiring for me, and I've also found inspires others, which is part of it. It's like a cycle of inspiration. Yep. That's how it should be. I enjoy giving things, and I enjoy giving knowledge. I enjoy spreading God's word through fighting is more than anything. Like to be a Christian and be a fighter, I think is already not rare, but I think a lot of people are almost shy to stand up for certain views that they have, whether it be political, religious, whatever, because of how society views that now. And people don't want to lose fans or whatever. But from my perspective, I feel like if they, even if they don't believe in God or whatever, if they can't at least respect that, then there's no sense in being my fan or following me anyway. So I
Exactly.
don't. So that's been a huge part, is for me to be able to kind of spread what's got me there and inspire others. I'm not talking about just girls who want to go into MMA, but people everywhere that want to do multiple things with their lives, that have an actual job and are struggling to raise kids and can't find the time to do it, and ask me, how do you find the time? And I don't raise kids, but
Mhm.
I feel like, and I say this from having siblings that I helped raise as a kid, I feel like my same times are taken out of my day. I have less time than a lot of parents, but um, I just feel like I've gained a lot of friendships through this sport. I've inspired a lot of people through this sport, and in turn, it's inspired me to do better and reach for greater things. And in addition to that, I'm inspiring my own family members, my brother, my sister, and I get to see and watch them grow and give them some kind of platform, to be represented by in a good light. And I hope to just represent everyone that I'm involved in life in a good way.
I think to kind of piggyback off that, I think you're doing an amazing job. I think again, you're doing great things. You have even greater things coming your way. I can see you potentially, not even in the UFC, like I said, in life in general. Your brothers and sisters should be, not honored, but proud of the person you are becoming, because again, you're still young. So
Thank
the person you are becoming, and again, that is amazing. You've been truly a really fun person to talk to, and I appreciate your time, because again, time is something that we can never get back. So I do appreciate the time you've given me, and again, I wish you nothing but happiness and luck in the future, and I know you'll do excellent.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a good one, Miranda.